This is episode 4 of the Best Ball Whenever podcast, and I am here with Pat Kerrane, who is the founder of Legendary Upside and Best Ball Mania Champion for $2 million. Pat, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man.
I know that's you're not supposed to ask that anymore, right? I listened
yeah,
to
this
your,
was a
ADP
controversial.
chasing.
I wasn't a part of this opinion though. That the how
That you
are you?
can't
Show
Yeah.
feels strongly that you shouldn't be asking how are you because it wastes time. But then it's actually pretty quick and sort of perfunctory, and you move on. So I think talking about whether or not you should ask how are you is already taken up way more time.
It is
than just asking and answering very quickly.
Plus, what if you got something you want to say? Maybe you got something on your mind that you really want to talk about. I'm just giving you the opportunity to potentially talk about that.
Yeah, it's also like, you got to do a couple little things before a real conversation starts, and those are the things. Is welcome to a society, Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you, talk to you. I consume a lot of your content, so like I feel like I see you pretty frequently, but we don't talk that often outside of NFL season. The past couple of years, we've done a regular show every Friday, and then like in the off season.
I know. I was happy to see you ask me to come on because we pod every week in season, but we haven't podded. I need to get Rich Rebar on because I haven't podded with him since the season either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we do an in-season show as well. So it's the off season feels like at some point it's never going to end, and then you're like, oh, the season's in like 2 months now. so yeah.
Oh, Matt says my mic is messed up. Let me double check that.
Sounds okay to me.
I am on the wrong mic, so let me
all right
change that.
Oh, I might be on the wrong mic too. Hang on.
Does my mic sound better now? It should. That's it's unfortunate when you're in. I'm trying to make this podcast format to start on the wrong mic. I swear I check it every time before I come into the studio, and then it is often
now on right mic because I was on the wrong mic before too. I think.
I think you sounded fine to me. Matt says you sound fine.
All right.
Apologies to the audio listeners for being on the wrong mic previously, but yeah, it's so it's good to see you. Rich Rebar is actually going to be my guest on this show next week, so I'm also going to be catching up with Rich. What show do you do with Rich during the season? I swear,
we do Angles and Upside, where we talk through both of us preview articles. So we talk through each of those, and then kind of compare notes on Friday. We do it after the show. We do together because we after we kind of get out of the lab of writing up all the stuff, then we compare notes on trends and how we think the games are going to shake out, basically.
And you do that? Do you do that on the LegUp channel?
Yeah.
Okay. I must watch it. I can't imagine that I would not watch that show, but unless I'm shooting, it might be. I guess it's like Saturday, so it's kind of busy.
Yeah. And you know what? It's pretty long.
Yeah. I'm generally down for that. Yeah. Especially in season. Like, you and Rich seems like that'd be, my kind of show, the kind of show that I would generally been into. But also it is like during season on Saturdays. I'm so busy during the season, and Saturday is kind of like I do my one show with Scott Barrett, and it's other than that a little bit of a lighter day. So it is possible that I do miss it just from I'm not watching any more content right now because I'm so exhausted during the season. So I do have we're back to the usual format. I'm going to be asking Pat some questions, and then we'll do an underdog Best Ball Mania draft after the question. So let me pull up the document, and I set this to Pat ahead of time, which I know he has not gone over it in depth, but just a few questions to talk about. Now, Pat is a little bit different than a lot of my guests in that I use his product. Like he is, as I said, the founder of Legendary Upside. I use the Legendary Upside Sidekick tool. You see it on all my streams. I talk about it more than I probably should, more than people would like me to, I think, to talk about a real-time assistance tool. But it heavily influences the way I draft. And I kind of assume that you and I have, in a lot of ways, similar exposures. Like I do have some spots where maybe I'll IKB off it. So there are going to be places where we won't have similar exposures. But I generally think our exposures will be fairly similar because my exposures are heavily influenced by the Sidekick. So with all of that said, I started with a question talking about fades, and I assume that these are all, I know that these are all going to be heavily influenced by the Sidekick. So in the first 9 rounds and I looked this up on Best Ball Explorer, just looking up, you can see like through the rounds, the players that you have heavy exposures to. So in the first 9 rounds of, so this is post-draft on underdog contest, just the regular contest, players that I have less than 2% of. And there's 10 players through the first 9 rounds. Those are Josh Allen, Emeka Egbuka, DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, Alec Pierce, Cortland Sutton, Tucker Kraft, Quentin Johnston, Micah Wilson, and Ricky Pearsall. My assumption is, Pat, that you also are significantly underweight on those players. So let's start there. Am I correct in that assumption?
You are. Yeah, I'm not. I'm very underweight on a number of these players. Yeah, Cortland Sutton barely taking it all. Josh Allen barely taking it all. Emeka Egbuka barely taking it all. He's even harder to get on DraftKings, actually, because he's more expensive there. Caleb Williams, I'm not really taking it all. Quentin Johnston, I've barely taken. Michael Wilson, barely taken. Pearsall, barely taken. And then Kraft, I haven't taken much of it all currently, or at least in my completed drafts, but in some slow drafts, I'm starting to get Kraft a little bit. And I've been talking to Sack, and he's starting to see Kraft pop up. We recently got a little bit more bullish on Kraft with his injury outlook looking a little bit better. He's not a player that I necessarily want to be out on if he is, if the recovery is going to, kind of keep on this track and he looks poised to have to build on what he was doing last year, because, I don't really believe Matthew Golden. He could easily be on this list as well. I guess he goes a little later, but I'm not really taking him. I think Christian Watson is probably in a similar-ish role to what he has been. He probably runs more routes now. And I think Jayden Reed is a good player, but maybe a little bit route limited, playing mostly in the slot. And so it could be an offense that has targets, to go around, and Kraft could emerge as the number one target there. He showed the ability to do that and do that in a way that's exciting, because he's a great after the catch player. So he's a guy that I feel like has been overpriced, and we haven't been getting much of so far. But that's probably the one that moving forward will change at least a little bit, where maybe we're underweight, but it's not like a big time fade.
Okay. So my follow-up question was, who on this list are you most afraid of being underweight on? And Kraft. I guess maybe if we're assuming that you're going to move up Kraft, is there anybody else that you think has an easy path to moving up the leg up ranks to the point where you'd be closer to the field without moving an ADP?
I don't think any of these players are like especially close to where I'd be like, we're fundamentally missing something. I think it's not like they're all dead to beat us. I mean, Josh Allen could just like nuke in the best ball playoffs. Like, he easily could, and then it's like, well, that sucks. We didn't really draft him. But we didn't draft him, I think, for like good reasons. He's just like, he's got a gigantic premium compared to the other quarterbacks who are all going to probably score pretty similarly. And we're outscoring him last year, at the end of the season. So, that's one where it's like, yeah, if you fade Josh Allen, that could go bad. But it doesn't mean that Josh Allen can't be overpriced. And I think it's more about like, he's overpriced relative to the other quarterbacks, but also this is a year where I really don't want to like burn. Like, I would like to get my early round picks right, because I think depth at running back is a real question this year. And there's some depth at receiver, but you'd like just to be deep at receiver ideally, and have the later guys hit and some early guys hit as well. So yeah, it's a tough year for me to want to like do something suboptimal in the third round. And I can get like Jaden Daniels in the 6th round. Like, come on. So that one, I mean, obviously he could burn us that way. Pierce, I think, has like some Pierce and Johnston, and Wilson maybe, but probably Pierce and Johnston more realistically have a chance to kind of emerge and like do a thing I think is probably not going to happen, where they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm the real number one wide receiver here now. Like, I'm a complete receiver, at least close enough to easily pay off ADP. But I don't think it's a great bet at the price you have to pay. Pearsall, somewhat similar as well, where maybe he's able to do that. But yeah, ultimately, like, I think that these guys, the main thing is that most of them are just a bit too expensive. DJ Moore is probably the one who could burn us in a way. Like, I think DJ Moore is just like, he has not been good for a while, and he just played in a Ben Johnson offense. So I'm not very persuaded. Some of the arguments I've seen are like, oh, he's been in such a horrible situation and now he's in a good situation. Like, he was in an awesome situation last year. He's in one of the best situations last year. He was in a great situation because Colson Loveland wasn't even playing. Luther Burden wasn't even playing. Like, he should have been dominating in a Ben Johnson offense is like the clear number one, with Rome Odunze dealing with an injury. Like, everything broke DJ Moore's way last year, except he wasn't very good. So I that one is more like, I know he's on the Bills. I know he's like going to be kind of the number one in Buffalo, but I think easily Dalton Kincaid could be the number one. I think Shakir's probably just a better receiver, even though he'll run less routes and probably be outscored by more fairly easily. But yeah, that's one where it's more like, nah. And if I'm just wrong on where DJ Moore is, if he is able to revive his career with Josh Allen and back in a Joe Brady offense, then I'll eat it on that one. But yeah, I mean, we gotta take some stands sometimes against the market. I think the market's just a little overly optimistic on a player who has pretty clearly been washed.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what would be the scenarios where you would want to be in on the, other than like an injury to a teammate where they ascend the depth chart, whatever. Like, is there any kind of like buzz that could happen that you could see happening with any of these players where you'd be like, all right, that buzz is enough? Like
Johnston, but like buzz of like he's like watch out, like Quentin Johnston is kind of, this offense might be about Quentin Johnston, which I don't expect to get, but new offensive coordinator, you could get that a little bit. To some extent Ibuka, although there's always buzz on Ibuka, and I don't know. I think he's like a good player. I'm skeptical he's like a breakout, like going to be a true star. I think he's a good wide receiver who will start in the NFL for a long time. But those are, it's probably, I mean, Pearsall, I suppose, although we already got that kind of like, oh my God, he's uncoverable last year. It didn't really amount to much, but I don't think Pearsall's bad. I just think, I think Mike Evans is a much more fun way to play that. But if he were to have a great camp again, I guess I would want to move on that a bit. I mean, he was 1.68 yards per out run last year. Not bad. I would listen on like a Pearsall mega camp for sure.
I feel like I've heard enough buzz from people like sharps within the community who are really in on Pearsall that I'm like, okay, I think I'm the same. Like, it would just take a little bit for me to say I'm going to start mixing him in more. I've actually done it some because so the Sidekick does give you a ton of Brock Purdy. Sometimes I'll be like, all right, you know what? I've got Brock Purdy. I'm just going to add Pearsall. Sometimes I'll do like a double click with that. So I've started mixing him in a little bit more, even when he's not the top of the kick. But yeah, I think I'm with you where it'd be like a little bit of buzz and suddenly I'm super in on Pearsall.
He could definitely move up a bit. I mean, he was a first round pick. It took him a couple years. He this rookie year he didn't really play, but he got shot. He finally did get on the field. Last year was like a big opportunity for him that he didn't really fully seize, but he didn't flop either. So, I would definitely be open to. I mean, we're not really taking much of him at all now, so it might not become like a flag plant player, but definitely someone we would get on board with if there was enough evidence pointing his way.
Off the top of your head, do you think there are any other players in the top 100 that you're like sub 2% on? One, like looking through my list, I thought potentially you'd be under on Luther Burden, which is pretty funny because he was a Sidekick darling last year, and this year just I IKB onto Luther Burden, and I still have like 3.3%. So he's one that's like he's
right around 2% for me. Yeah. And it's a bummer. Luther Burden was literally my highest drafted player last year, and I think for him, like, there's lots of good picks in that range, and it's also a spot where I am taking like Cam Scatterbo in the 4th and stuff. Like, there's running back picks there. I'm taking Josh Jacobs as he falls now into the late 4th. But like Tedero McMillan, I've seen fall a bunch kind of into that late 4th. I prefer McMillan. I mean, McMillan was a better prospect. He has established himself as a clear number one in his offense, right? Like, the projection that we're making on Burden that now he'll be the number one in the offense after taking a long time to pass Olamide Zaccheaus. And like, he's a high upside play for sure, but it's just, I mean, he could be like a real advance rate drag as a 4th round pick, especially an early 4th round pick. So he's the type of player like I'm not enjoying fading, and I do IKB onto him a little bit as well, just as like I think this is a risky way to play it, but one where I'm like, yeah, I want to draft some Luther Burden, so I will do that a bit. But I will say this, I mean, we've gotten higher on Burden than we were like to start the post draft period, and we've gotten, I think what we put in February was lower than where we ended up in April as well, because things went well for him. They didn't add anybody. So Loveland and Burden we've come up on, but the market is just really excited about the Bears, like really, really excited about the Bears. And to me, it's kind of it's hard. I did a pod with Beimfor, and he like noted that the entire offense is done before pick 100. There's not a single Bear that we draft after pick 100. We draft the entire offense before pick 100. It's kind of nuts. Like, I don't remember an offense that we've drafted. And it's like, we take a tight end, we take 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and the quarterback. And everyone's off the board. Manungai is the last guy off, in late 90s is kind of the latest he goes. So yeah, but I take a little Manungai, and I take Rome Odunze is the way. I'm not like taking a ton of Odunze, but when he falls to the 6th, I'm happy to get him. And I'm actually underweight on Odunze too, but not as massively.
Yeah, people accuse you of being a Bears hater.
They do.
This year.
They do.
I
am a Bears hater relative to market. I think we've done this repeatedly. Like, this is like, we have a real pattern of behavior on this, where we did this with the Jags. We did this with the Texans after Stroud's rookie year. We did this with we've done it like multiple times with the Chargers. We like take an offense, we anoint the quarterback, we take the quarterback who might move a little bit but isn't like a true dual threat, and we take him as if he's a dual threat, which is exactly what we're doing with Caleb Williams. Like Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts. Like, give me the runners, guys, or give me the dude who was like almost won the MVP last year, is coming off an insane season and just got AJ Brown, and they upgraded the other outside wide receiver as well. Like, that seems like a safer bet given that he's already done it, right? Like, Williams wasn't really like, he wasn't producing like we're saying he's going to produce even last year. So it's a real projection. And I think one of the things that's kind of interesting with the Sims and stuff is we've done this. Like, I thought when we launched the Sims, and like, I don't know, Shady knows, not me, but like, I was like, oh, it'll probably be like building these teams that are, built around like correlation and all this stuff that I think is fun. But a lot of it is like, hey, don't take like the players who don't score points a lot. Don't take the players who are like really overpriced relative to like how many points we think they score. And unfortunately, I think we've done that with a lot of the Bears because there's this collective belief that they will just score a lot more points than we've ever seen them score, which could happen. But like over a larger sample, those are the types of bets that I think taking the other side on is probably the more profitable way to go.
Yeah. Roheen points out that Xavier Thomas is somebody that Davis has been pushing lately. He's kind of entering the best ball space. So there is one Bear that is occasionally drafted, and Cole Kmet also on that list. I don't think I've taken much or any of that group. So yeah, every Bear that I'm taking also within the top 100.
I am pro, like, if you're out there and you're a Kmet guy, if who's the other tight end is Sam Roush, is that who they took? No, if you're a big Sam Roush guy, I want to hear about it. Tell me. Let's pump up the Sam Roush bags.
Yeah.
Let's get Xavier Thomas and ADP. Like, I want cheaper Bears, like breakout offenses at like reasonable prices is great. I love it. I don't like paying for like, I feel like we're going to draft. I mean, what will really happen is that like Odunze will be an 8th round pick and Burden will be a 2nd round pick, or Burden will be a 6th round pick and Odunze will be like a 2-3 turn pick or something, right? Like, there's going to be winners and losers even if the team hits. But it does feel like collectively we'll pay like roughly the same total cost for the Bears in 2027 if they hit. You know what I mean?
Right. They're not moving up beyond where they are right now.
Yeah.
I think like this list for the most part is like, this all makes sense to me. These are all players that, and I don't know if that's because I'm like, partially because I am like LegUp brained at this point. So I'm just like, all right, LegUp, this is smart. But I think this is like coming in, even like prior to like using the Sidekick for everything. I mean, I guess that hasn't really happened this year, but I think coming in, I would have said like, yeah, this seems too expensive for Alec Pierce. Caleb is one that I could have seen myself taking more of, and then I just haven't.
Me too.
Been taking
like me too. Yeah. Like I think for me, part of the value of drafting with the Sidekick is that it keeps me in check, because like again, I mean, you can call me a Bears hater relative to the market, which is probably just accurate this year. I'm a Bears bear. You know, you'd have to say that, but it's not. I'm not like a hater in the sense that, you know, I've been anti-Bears and I don't see upside in the Bears. Like again, my most drafted player was Luther Burden. I was very excited about him. I like Loveland. You know, I've not been an Odunze guy really, but you know, he's the one I'm most comfortable with now. So I feel like I'm open to taking these players, and then, you know, we have a pretty rigorous process for determining who the good picks are, basically. I mean, that's really what's happening when we're simming all of this out. And it's like, unfortunately, based on like what we think is most likely to happen this year, like, you know, and kind of taking a range of outcomes approach, the Bears probably overpriced, like probably pretty clearly overpriced. There are other formats. You know, there's weekly winners out there. You can more easily build. I have some weekly winners Bears stuff. Like you get onto a Bear and then the correlation really does boost. You know, for a weekly winners format, it's only one. You know, you got to win that week. That's all that matters. So, you know, there's formats where I will have Bears, and I'm hopeful that, you know, Davis will do good work this summer and get, you know, as many streamers and many subscribers as he can get, and boost Xavier Thomas so I can get a little cheaper Luther Burden. 4 or 5 turn Luther Burden, I think we'd be more in. You know, it's really that like he's having trouble flipping a number of the receivers that, and some of the running backs that are in that more like mid or to early 4th round.
So you have Tetairoa McMillan is clearly ahead of Luther Burden. Is that one that's, because to me that like somebody who doesn't do any kind of like projection, like I don't do projection, but just like intuitively I look at it as like, well, Luther Burden like started breaking out so late, and he's got Caleb Williams at quarterback, who I think is a lot better than Bryce Young. So that like that kind of offsets the talent in some ways. So is it mostly just a you'd rather bet on Tetairoa McMillan? Is it also the like lack of competition on the Panthers relative to the Bears, or is that not an example of like where he's just not flipping Tetairoa McMillan, or are there other receivers there that you're having trouble moving Luther Burden up?
McMillan is an example of one receiver, but not an example. He's not like, it's not just because of McMillan, and just like looking like we're more optimistic about Burden in some ways than we are about McMillan, but McMillan also, he has the earlier ADP as well, and that, you know, if you're going to get a chance to take one of the guys in the late 4th, and I see McMillan, I'm kind of more excited about those builds to get McMillan later than I'm with a Burden. But like, yeah, I mean, like Waddle would be an example of a guy who, you know, a lot of times probably just outscores Luther Burden, and he goes like 6 picks later. And it's like, hey, you know, Waddle's actually like an extremely fast playmaking receiver who's good after the catch, who's been a good downfield target earner as well, who's in a good offense that's going to pass the ball probably more than the Bears, maybe significantly more than the Bears, who's like got a big gap. I mean, certainly between like him and the number 3 target, like the number 3 target on the Broncos versus the number 3 target on the Bears is like a huge gap. And then I think the number 2 target on the Bears is also a better target earner than Courtland Sutton. Whether you want to say it's Loveland or Rome, I think both guys are probably better at this point. Sutton seems to be dropping off. So, Waddle has some issues as a player. Like he probably will be more of like an 85% route rate guy as opposed to like 95. But he's an exciting young player who they just traded a first-round pick for. I mean, the Broncos invested more in Jaylen Waddle than the Bears invested in Luther Burden. And Luther Burden's the second-year kind of breakout player. But like, I honestly think if Luther Burden scored like the exact same amount of points as Jaylen Waddle, that people would be like, see? And be like, what? But Bird went first. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of the optimism seems priced in. Like I'm at least, relative to the other options that I can get. So that Waddle would be probably the more clear-cut example of like, hey, all that stuff you're hoping will happen for Luther Burden, like, isn't that like definitely going to happen for, or at least not definitely, but it seems there's a higher probability of those things happening for Waddle, given the larger context around his situation.
Do you have a single share of Josh Allen?
No,
not a single. And are you comfortable with that? Like going into the season, I know you told Davis on a stream that you're planning on doing about as many drafts as him this year, which is 2,000 or something. So more than you did last year. It sounds like you're upping the number of drafts you're going to do. If he just stays in this ADP range, are you comfortable with that? Or like if you see him fall to like pick 42 or something, then would you say like, you know what, I'm just going to go get a share of Josh Allen and
pick 42 maybe. Pick 42 maybe. Yeah. I mean, but honestly, also maybe not.
Yeah.
I think, there are other formats of best ball. Like there is a Superflex format, for example. Now the funny thing is, I think the market has that wrong, where they're taking Josh Allen over Gibbs and Bijan, and we sim out what we think will happen in the regular season, and then the NFL entire regular season, and then the best ball regular season and playoffs. But then we're simming the contest as well, and so the Superflex contest is a different contest with different ADP, and so we see different guys pop in whatever contest you're playing, which is kind of one of the fun things about having a tool like this and then jumping into a bunch of different types of contests. But unfortunately, I think Allen isn't necessarily even a big target in Superflex because the Sims really like the elite running backs there, where you drop in the way Underdog does it, you drop a wide receiver spot, and that makes having it downweights wide receiver. So those running backs are like even more, and by those running backs I mean Gibbs and Bijan, are even more powerful, and you kind of run into the same problems with Allen that you do in traditional best ball tournaments, where the difference that he gives you, like the hammer Josh Allen gives you, is probably a little overstated relative to some of the other guys that you can get later. Not that he doesn't give you an advantage. It's not like we don't have Allen as QB1. We do, but it's just the price gap between him and the next group of guys is where we have a difference of the market there. So I have at least taken Allen though in Superflex. Okay. And so he's not like I will have some Allen somewhere, and that the weekly winners and stuff. Or the other thing I could maybe I in a big dog or something like that. I if he fell to like pick 42 in a big dog, I'd probably be more like, all right, let me get a share here, and this might be an impactful share. Sprinkling him in like a puppy at like pick 42, I would honestly be more inclined to just take the guy I think is the best pick.
Yeah. So I have IKB'd onto him a few times. I will say it's pretty nice and clean when you take Josh Allen and then you get like Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid at a certain turn. Like it feels good, but like I like I said, I have under 2% because most of the time I'm just doing what the Sidekick take.
Well, I like I mean, if I was going to IKB to Allen, I probably would just be like the Bills are like rolling.
Yeah.
Like this is you the answer was Bills. Most of my portfolio's dead. Yeah. Allen is just, causing misery to most of my teams, but at least I got this Shakir Kincaid double stack,
And the Sidekick will give you plenty of Shakir and Kincaid, even without Allen.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of getting
that's
through those two.
That's one way where I feel like we're not like missing something, like we are in on, and the same way, like when I see Odunze pop in the 6th. I'm like, yeah, like it is just with the Bills. It's not like we think the Bills aren't going to put up points and there aren't going to be guys here that score points. Like, but I mean, a 3rd round pick is a lot to pay for a quarterback when the next highest quarterback goes in the late 5th. And then there's like, I mean, you can get like, I've gotten Jalen Hurts in the 8th round. Like they didn't outlaw the tush push, you know, like he could score a bunch of points at quarterback. Like my 8th round, you might like your 3rd round Allen might outscore my 8th round Hurts by like 2. Like, is that that's a big gap, you know, in a given, you know, I'm talking about on a week, right? I mean, and I don't even know why I'm saying that. Like I'll outscore you. I can outscore Allen with Hurts in the 8th. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So it's just the price difference. And then like the certainty that you'd get too, like these aren't like, this isn't when we were taking Trey Lance in the 6th round or 7th round, you know, where we're having to do a ton of projection and stuff, you know, like Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow and he goes in the late 6th. Like Drake May, like just had an insane season. Like, I guess he's like somewhat speculative to say he definitely belongs as like one of the top quarterbacks, but you're getting him at the 6th, 7th turn, you know, like Jaden Daniels is a true dual threat. It's Lamar Jackson, who's the next guy with the giant gap. Like this isn't like, you know, he's right there with Allen in MVP voting a couple years ago. So it is like, I mean, Hurts has been an awesome fantasy quarterback for a long time. They lose Brown, but they add a 1st round receiver, Mekhi Lemon. They had a 2nd round pass catching tight end. Like, I think he'll probably be fine. And you're getting a big discount to what you normally pay. That's the tricky part. It's like some of the other guys, you're paying like 2-3 rounds less than you used to. And then Allen, it's kind of like, yeah, we're going to pay exactly the same for him, and everyone else is going to get cheaper. Like, if you knew that, wouldn't you be like, well, then I'll probably just not take Josh Allen then? You know, like I don't think we need Sims for this one.
It's such a strange quarterback landscape because all of the like late round quarterbacks have moved way up, and then there's just Josh Allen who separates, and then so it feels like the sidekick will give you a lot of like mid range quarterbacks, which makes a lot of sense. Or like elite quarterbacks, but just not Josh Allen. Like he's like too elite, or he goes too early among the group of elite quarterbacks, and then like you frequently do get like Josh Allen, or not Josh Allen, sorry, you get Jalen Hurts, you get Jaden Daniels, you get Drake May, you even get some like naked Joe Burrow with this idea.
Yeah,
because they're just like, these quarterbacks are just like, they're too cheap relative to where all the other quarterbacks are going this year. But Josh Allen just like he's just going too early for that. The one thing I will say for Josh Allen is sometimes I just get bored of taking Javonte Williams over and over, and I don't feel that great about clicking Javonte Williams. So it's like, you know, I get the suggestion like, yeah, we didn't have any great followers, so you could have Javonte Williams. Are you ever tempted? Like, do you get to a point where you're just like, you know what, I kind of hate the suggestion here in the 3rd round, and Josh Allen's falling? Just is that not even a temptation for you? Because for me, that's what it is. Like I get to the point, I'm like, I'm so tired of taking this you know, late 3rd round pick, whatever it is. I guess I'll take a falling Josh Allen in this one.
Not for me with Josh Allen, but I know the feeling that you're talking about, where it's like there are certain players where you're like, this is probably a good pick, you know, I mean, very likely a good pick, I would say, but you're also just like, hey, you know, I'm kind of interested in some other stuff today. Like, let's see what else is on the menu. And so I get that. Javonte, I'm at 16% on, and as a player, you know, and a couple of years ago, I almost certainly would have been out on, because it's like, oh, come on, man. This is like Javonte Williams. Like he's so unexciting. I think the Javonte Williams stuff is a way for like I think that is a very much a Sims driven one. And what's happening there, in my opinion, is that we just don't have a lot of good later round running backs. So you get Javonte, and it allows you, and there are some pretty interesting late wide receivers. We're seeing like Omar Cooper goes way later than we've typically paid. We kind of said we were done taking round 1 wide receivers this late, and he wasn't like a widely he wasn't stribbling. You know, people weren't like, whoa, dude, Omar Cooper. Like he was thought to be a round 1 wide receiver for not the entire process, but for a big chunk of the process. People liked his tape. You know, he's on a national championship winning team. Like, he was a well-regarded prospect the whole time. He tested pretty well. He was, you know, his production profile is not great, but it's not like unbelievably bad or anything. Like, I know why he goes that late. It's because he went to the Jets, but it seems like a pretty big Jets discount. You got a big Browns discount with Casey Concepcion. You know, Travis Hunter's been like with the offense apparently for like 2 weeks. You know, like Travis Hunter's is still like a wide receiver as far as you know, evidence suggests, but people are out because they're worried he's going to play too much cornerback. He probably will play more cornerback than we would like, but I think he'll play plenty of receiver too. So there's you know, and there's some of the unsigned guys who I think give you a little upside relative to price. Diggs and Deebo would be the two I'm actually taking. And, you know, there's a number of kind of interesting. Jeremy Bernard is another kind of underpriced guy relative to his draft capital. Stribling is at least a little underpriced relative to his draft capital now. He was in the 200s. He was very underpriced at a point. So there are some interesting wide receivers that you can get late that give you upside. And, you know, there's some kind of veteran bets on routes down there too. So you can kind of piece that together a little bit with volume. And I think probably pricing is getting more efficient as well. You know, Travion Henderson and Bashal Tutin and some of these upside young running backs, I don't think would have been in the 4th, 5th round a few years ago. I think they would have been like 6th, 7th, 8th round picks. And so if we're having to pay more for the upside, the type of upside that actually helps you win these tournaments, you know, all throughout the draft and especially at running back, and then you don't have a good running back class, Javonte probably just makes more sense in that environment than he feels like he does. So I think that Javonte, I think he's like a better click than we want him to be. At the same time, I do get the feeling, and on Javonte as well, like, you know, sometimes I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go another direction. But it would, for me, would be like for Garrett Wilson or for Zay Flowers, you know, or for one of these other Lad McConkey or something. Like, hey, I'm having trouble with as many wide receivers I like in the 3-4 round range. I'm having trouble like getting really overweight on, like, I picked Zay Flowers as a league winner, you know, on the ship chasing episode we did of like picking a league winner. I think we each picked one league winner at each position, maybe. I forget. But I picked Zay Flowers, and I'm at like 13%. You know, so I have less Zay Flowers than Javonte Williams, and I'm like, yeah, Zay Flowers, flag plant. You know, so, but it's not just because of Javonte. It's because like I don't want to be underweight Garrett Wilson, which I'm not, but I'm at 11. I'm not like super overweight either. And Lad McConkey, I'm actually a little underweight on now. So there's like all these guys. I like T. Higgins is right there. You know, I'm at 9% on him. It's about even with the field. So for me, if I was going to go away from that, it would be for those wide receivers who I think are like great clicks. They just might not be, you know, given the landscape, Javonte might be a better click. And so for me, I'd be like, if I was going to IKB, I'd be like, yeah, I want to have these guys as like a key part of my portfolio. I just want to make sure that happens. And I'm starting to get a little underweight on Lad. Let me get some Lad. And then like, you tell me I probably messed up a little here, Sidekick, but like, you help me out later. You know, we'll work together on this as we move into a little bit more uncertainty at running back.
Do you think that like the Javonte click is one that like could become easier to fade later in the summer as you get more certainty on like running backup situations, or just like risers at running back?
100% I do. And you know, I think not for nothing, one of those guys is Jaden Blue.
Yeah.
So like if Jaden Blue's like, hey, no, he's the number 2, because like if Malik Davis is the number 2 in Dallas, Javonte's like a good ass click in the early 4th. Like, come on. Like if his biggest competition is Malik Davis, like it's like he stays healthy and is a good click, or he gets hurt and was a bad click. Like it starts to become kind of binary like that. I mean, it's a good offense. They're going to score a bunch of points. It's best ball. Like you can't go find other points off the waiver wire. Like if he just chugs along and is like a steady, productive running back, he was worth the cost. It's not like you're having to pay a 2nd round pick for him. You know what I mean? Like it's annoying. Like he is like a dead zone-y profile. It's not the type of profile I've ever really gravitated toward. In fact, I've avoided in redraft. But in this landscape and in this format, you know, I think he makes sense right now. If Jaden Blue starts making some like real noise that he is not just the RB2, but like I would expect Jaden Blue to like have a role, then this just makes Javonte a worse pick. And it also gives us a guy we can get excited about in the final rounds. And that is a big part of it, I think, is that there's not that many guys late that we can be, you know, especially excited about. And I think if anything, like Jaden Blue is an example in some ways of why Javonte might be a good click, because like Jaden Blue is the most expensive we've ever paid for a round 5+ running back since we have underdog data. So 2021 through 2025, we've never paid more for a round 5 or later running back than we did last year for Jaden Blue. And Jaden Blue is the only one of those guys to be 100% drafted. We've never had a 100% drafted player round 5 or later, you know, as a rookie. So Jaden Blue was a horrendous pick, like a devastatingly bad pick, where we just were like, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. It's like, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to draft Jaden Blue. Like, I don't know, like, see what your buddies are up to, and maybe you can get in another home league. You know, like there's other ways to play this game. Like if it's just a bad, like, you know, just kind of blind betting on some of these like late round rookies and just hoping they hit. Like there are better builds.
Yeah, and he benefited from Miles Sanders getting hurt like immediately also.
Yeah,
and still couldn't really.
He had a decent run out.
Yeah. One other, because you brought him up, and I know you talked about this with Shady on Top Kick Tuesday. Deebo Samuel is a big part of my portfolio. Now I'm going to have, 1% of Shady's volume, so isn't going to hurt as much if Deebo Samuel doesn't work out. But the Sidekick recommends Deebo Samuel a lot. And I had Ben Gretsch on this podcast, and he's pretty out on Deebo Samuel as a talent. So can you tell me, first of all, are you confident that Deebo Samuel is going to sign somewhere, and that he's going to rise up in the ranks when he does sign somewhere? Tell me about the Sidekick's love for Deebo Samuel, I guess.
Yeah, I think the situation around Deebo seems to be like he's kind of, I think once you get to a certain point in the offseason, you're going to wait because they don't want these guys like messing up their compensatory pick formula now. And then you also get to a point where like they don't want to have to like show up to OTAs or whatever. Like they're kind of like, you know what? This summer thing's pretty cool. I see what you guys are talking about. So I think like Diggs and Deebo are both healthy and are going to sign. I've not heard any kind of like, I don't know, like I'm not sure if Deebo's, he's not super old from a like he might retire kind of standpoint or something like that. I think it's a little different than Keenan, where you could see Keenan like walking away from football. But Deebo's 30. So he's like a year older than AJ Brown, like he's not. Keenan Allen is 34. That's a pretty big difference in wide receiver years. So I do think Deebo is like very, very likely to sign. And, we just talked through, because like we're all taking a lot of Deebo. And so it's like, hey, are we a little hot here? We like talk through like, where is he most likely to sign? And like, what's his outlook at kind of the most likely spots? And I think we feel good about the Deebo stuff. Deebo is not some play for like, we're not playing for CLV. We're not like, oh, we got to take Deebo now because his price is going to go up. It's like you get into this range and you're in the 160s and there's not a lot of guys, you can take like just Sean Stribling is probably a little underpriced given he's the 33rd overall pick, but like he also does have a pretty concerning profile analytically. And apparently the NFL was more into this guy than, the general like tape community, but that there's not like a ton of tape love from what I've seen. So you're really betting on the 49ers to be right here. And then you look at like Deebo had 1.66 yards per route run last year, 1.60 the year before. He fell off a couple years ago. He's at 2.26 back in 2023. and he hasn't really been that guy for a couple years now. But it's not like he cratered to just like being a useless player and couldn't do anything. Like he was like reasonably productive last year. He's now looking for another job. I think he'll land somewhere and be kind of wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, depending on where he goes. But like, yeah, I think he'll be more productive than you're paying for in a format where, like, if he is able to hit your lineup 4 or 5 times, like, that's an absolute smash. And so, like, from, you know, I'm not sure exactly where Gretch is coming from in terms of like best ball or redraft, but I would say, like, I will not be pushing Deebo as a redraft pick. To me, this is like, he helps fill out a wide receiver room. And I think one reason that you and me and Shady, one reason we probably are seeing a lot of Deebo is that we're following the Sidekick relatively closely in the early rounds, and we're building a lot of hyper fragile teams. And so if you have a lot of teams that are just finishing with 4 running backs, you know, you have like maybe you have a Jonathan Taylor, you have an Amarian Hampton, you've got a Bashal Tootin and Jaylin Warren, and you're done. Okay, that leaves you with some extra picks at wide receiver, at tight end, at quarterbacks. So maybe you got like 3 quarterbacks. You've got 3 tight ends, and you got 8 wide receivers, you know? And it's like a decent amount of receivers are going to be later. There's probably going to be some rookies in there. And so it's like a Deebo and an Omar Cooper and a Jeremy Bernard, you know, and a Romeo Dobbs, like, or a Wandale. Like, those guys kind of all help piece together. The same way with, like, when zero running back stuff, we've talked for years about, like, making sure, like, those rooms kind of piece together to give you production throughout the year. At wide receiver, it's not like you only have those guys. You know, you might on the build I said before, you might have a Garrett Wilson or a Ladd or whatever, maybe Luther Burden, you IKB'd on him in the 4th. Maybe you have a Jordan Tyson in the 6th, or Rome Dunze or Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison, something like that. Like, you still have some receivers that you took pretty early on, but getting that, like, that flex spot, that or the wide receiver 3 spot, more likely, if your early running backs are kind of helping fill that flex, you know, Deebo can be useful for that. And maybe it's not for the entire season even, but he just helps you, like, until a couple rookies, like Casey Concepcion might be, like, really struggling in week 3, and Deebo puts up 13 points. Cool. You know? So that's, I think it's structural too. Like, if you, I'm like, why am I not seeing as much Tyler Warren? You know, sometimes I'm like, I would like to get some more Tyler Warren, but if I start more wide receiver heavy, I actually do see more Tyler Warren. And I think it's just because, like, the when you see Warren, it's like there's just been a running back tier break. And so, do you need the receivers? Do you need the quarterback? You know, what are you going for here? And if you have, like, receiver firepower already built in, it seems, I don't know. I'm like, I think there's, like, sort of different paths that you're kind of going down. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing a hyper fragile path, which I'm doing a lot of right now, Deebo fits those builds pretty well.
Yeah. So I guess, so what I want to hear is that you guys have inside info where you have, like, actual, like, positive news. To me, it's just like, I think when you have enough money on it, and again, what I have is going to be 1% of, like, Shady, probably a lot less than what you have on him. But, like, at some point, it's like, man, I keep putting money down on this guy, and I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard a peep from him all offseason, and we're just, like, assuming that he's going to sign somewhere. But your counter is just that, like,
you want him to do, like, videos about the Commanders and post them.
I want him to put himself, weigh himself on Instagram. Yeah. I don't know, just like,
you're hoping, like, he goes to jail for 30 days, but he can work out.
Yeah. I guess
no news on NFL players in June is good.
Okay. Yeah.
I recognize we want him to sign, but no, I hear you. I mean, I think there are guys, and I put Deebo in this bucket, like Deebo, Mahomes, you know, those are probably the biggest 2 right now, where it's like, I'm pretty sure that they're just going to be cheaper later, or sorry, that they're cheaper now than they will be later. Because, like, Mahomes seems pretty clearly to be on track to play week 1. And not everyone's buying that yet. And we're not fully buying that. But I predict that we will fully buy it sometime before week 1, and then it will happen. So as that starts to look clearer and clearer, and people start to get more optimistic about him this season, I think his price just moves up. I think Deebo will sign and his price will move up. At that point, I doubt I have a ton of Deebo. It also might be occurring at a time where I'm taking less early running backs, as we talked about with, a guy like Jaden Blue coming, into the draftable pool. And then you have the other guys that showing up in there as well, where you're actually starting to mix up the builds a little bit more. And like a veteran chaperone type of wide receiver like Deebo Samuel has some utility and some appeal, but it's just like less frequently needed.
Yeah. You're probably right. It's that like no news is good news, and just like don't have to worry about Deebo Samuel. Just one of those things that I'm like, sometimes I know you guys have. I think Shady told me you have 10 people doing the rankings. So I'm like, did I miss something here? Is there something positive coming out of the Deebo camp? But yeah, like I hear you. Like he's not old enough where we're really expecting him to retire. Like he's gonna sign somewhere. Just yeah.
Like Jawan Jennings signed as the wide receiver 3 in Minnesota. In an offense that has a pass catching tight end, and he moved up.
Yeah.
Like I think I totally get like being worried about how much exposure you have on a guy who's not on a team, because that does come with some downside risk. But I think either like this will be catastrophically bad, for maybe not for the portfolio, but like as a pick, you'll be like, well, that didn't work, because he's not playing this year.
Like Will Fuller,
Like Will Fuller, yeah. But like Deebo's around. Like, I saw he was at like he got interviewed down in like South Carolina for some kind of football event. Like he's okay. He's in the mix. He's going
alive.
out. He's alive.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah. He seems like he's in good spirits and everything. I think he's just chilling. But I think I don't know for sure. I haven't spoken to him, so like maybe he's done, and then that would really suck. But if he's not, like, 1, he's too cheap, and 2, he'll move up, and you won't have to think about him so much.
Okay. Yeah, I like that's like the night. I think part of what caused me concern is also I listened to Jacob and Ryan Heath do a show together, and Jacob was like, I really like Deebo here, and he was like, I think there's at least like an 85% chance that he signs somewhere, and I was like, 85%, like that does not come from me. I've been just assuming he's going to sign somewhere, and then he actually
take the over on that.
Like he walked it back and was like, no, I think it's higher than that. It's higher than that. But just hearing that, I was like, what? 85%? Yeah, scared me a little bit.
He's 30. He's 30.
Right.
He can make $10 million this year if he just decides to go, and go. But what about the Raiders? That'd be fun. Maybe do that.
Man, please sign with
really use a receiver.
Great.
Yeah.
We did get a couple questions about Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk. Do you have any like quick thoughts on either?
So those guys, I don't think they're sort of you asked earlier about like guys we could move on. If I did start to feel like, hey, there's like only like an 80% chance Deebo signs at all, then he would become a different play, and one we would not be making probably much at all, because or at least less, because the roster locked element of best ball is really important. And it's like I think if people want to push back on like Deebo is like, what do you win when you win? Is he really going to be some league winner? Like, no, he's not. But like he can help on a team where I have 3 rookie wide receivers on this team. Like he could really help with the team that's got early running backs and some wide receiver depth. He's part of that, but if he's just straight up not going to play, obviously that whole thing kind of goes out the window. Tyreek Hill is coming off a dislocated knee. They were worried about like nerve damage and stuff on that, which I think he avoided. But it's still like it's a career ender. That's dislocated knee is a career-ending injury in a lot of cases. Like he's 32. Like he's 32, coming off of like a severe injury, and. It was Marcus Lattimore, right? Who had that injury in college, and he like never really played. He was the #1 running back in that class. A dislocated knee is, and with all the like ligament damage that came with that at 32, where people already had concerns about him falling off, and he's like a speed receiver. It's just like, I would, hopefully he is healthy and I'm wrong, but that's when I'm willing to be like, well, Tyreek was a lot healthier than I thought he could be. And he was actually pretty helpful for teams down the stretch of 2026, but that's something maybe I'll draft him some in 2027. Not too high, because he'll be 33, but I'll be open to taking him then. He's kind of going to have to prove it to me a little bit that way. And then Brandon Ayuk, like, also had a multi-ligament knee injury, not nearly as severe, but didn't play football again after it. And like, I don't know why. Like, it seemed like that whole situation is so bizarre. It does seem like, great that he weighs 208. That's better than him weighing a lot less or a lot more than that, but it's like not enough. Like, how about you weigh 208 and like run? Could I see that? Could a team see that?
Yeah.
Why is he still not a free agent? Why is he still like, how is like his agent hasn't really heard from him and stuff? Like,
it's more like mental health concerns, right? Then I guess I've assumed with Brandon Ayuk that the big concern is that the 49ers are just totally out on him, and he just seems to be kind of dealing with some mental health stuff. Is it more of a physical injury? I guess I didn't realize that is such a big
concern. We just haven't seen him play since he had a multi-ligament knee injury that normally players come back from. You might see like a downgrade in the production for a while or whatever, but normally, you'd expect a guy to probably get back close to what he was before. You would hope anyway, but he just didn't play. And like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, what is his commitment to football right now?
Yeah.
Like, football's like pretty brutal and hard, so like, is he, I don't know. It's just like, he just sat out a season when he was like under contract for a lot of money and just like bounced. So that's very different to me than like Deebo played last year, was reasonably productive, ended the season healthy, wasn't a huge priority for teams in free agency, and now hasn't signed kind of, in a period where like the ball's in his court and he can probably wait till August or July or whatever and sign that. Like, that's like, these are very different situations to me. And Ayuk, we just talked about on chip chasing, is like, you know what? Brandon Ayuk in like the final rounds of an FFPC main event in June, cool. Because things could definitely break where Ayuk looks like a pretty intriguing double-digit round pick in best ball in August. But like, he just could be a fancy zero like so easily. And if I can't cut him, I don't think I want to draft him right now.
Yeah, I think I have 0 Ayuk. He is not one that I've been inclined to IKB. Like you said, once we get some kind of positive indications on Ayuk, maybe we switch things up. But yeah, seems like a pretty easy fade for me at the moment. I know that's counter to fellow Best Ball Mania champion Liam. I feel like has been posting about Ayuk as a big play. Yeah,
he seems to be pretty in on him as a talent from what the ship chasing guys were saying earlier. That because that's another big question. Like, do you think Brandon Ayuk, having sat out a year and we've not seen him since a pretty major knee injury, and he is also 28. Like, what would his role be? Like, what's the gap between him and Terry McLaurin? I think the gap between him and Terry McLaurin would be like pretty big.
Yes.
But if you don't think that, then, I guess I could see taking more of the risk on drafting him while he's completely free. But
speaking of late round receivers, and I guess I'm giving you the term sidekick darling is just something that has entered my lexicon. Last year, Jaylin Noel.
Sidekick side piece?
Sidekick. Was it sidekick side piece? Yeah. This year, Noel, we don't get a ton of Jaylin Noel suggestions from the Sidekick, but a lot of Tank Dell instead. Can you go into this a little bit? How confident are you that Dell beats out Noel for the starting slot role on the Texans? How are you feeling about the late round Texans receivers?
I do like Dell a lot more than Noel. I thought Noel was like a fine prospect, but not like a super strong prospect. And he wasn't particularly efficient last year. He had 1.40 yards per route run. And the bigger concern for me with Noel was that he wasn't really able to ever dust Christian Kirk, who then they move on from after the year, which, you know, is somewhat bullish for Noel. But also they have Tank Dell coming back, and he's been, you know, working kind of off to the side. He's participated in some stuff, but he's been there. He's been running, and reports out of like camp and stuff, you know, 53-man roster projections. He's considered a lock for the roster, and looks to be on track to return. He's a guy who's younger, currently with the team, right? Like, you know, there's some similarities to Ayuk, except he's like at the facility and practicing and doing, maybe he's not like participating in the 11-on-11s, but he's, you know, doing football related physical activity at the Texans field. That's good. So to me, it's like he's more like Brooks. You know, he's not quite to Jonathan Brooks, where it's like Jonathan Brooks, they're already being like, yeah, we like expect Brooks to like have a pretty important role on this team. But it's like not that different, you know, where he's like expected, like if he makes the roster, he's not there to just like hang out. Like I think he'll be their starting slot receiver. You know, he was pretty, like when he had the fall off year in 2024, which was a little disappointing, he was still more efficient than Noel was last year. And he was really efficient as a rookie with 2.22 yards per route run. So, you know, and he's had a great connection with CJ Stroud. So Dell is the way I'm playing it. I think he's a better bet than Noel. He doesn't necessarily, you know, it's not a lock that he has that job, but I think kind of the parlay is like, I think he's a better bet to have the job. And then if he has the job, I think he's a better bet to produce than Noel. So like in both buckets, I think Dell is stronger. And so when you kind of parlay those together, he's just a much better pick in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it would take some like buzz about Jaylin Noel for me to get really in on, and he was one of my highest drafted players last year. And I thought he was like pretty talented. I guess that's my one thing is like Noel to me was like, he never really got a shot, but it felt like when he was out there, he looked pretty good. And it was like, okay, when are these coaches going to start using Noel more? But yeah, we
they never really did.
Yeah, they never.
I mean, they did a little, but they never said you're the guy now in the slot.
Yeah. And then this is another Sidekick question. How often do you stray from the top of the Sidekick, and who are some of the players you frequently choose not to top click, and or some of the players that you move up the queue? In other words, who are you more bullish or bearish on than the rest of the Sidekick rankings team?
I'm probably more bullish on Travis Hunter. I've had a couple times where I've you know, grabbed a knife and got, you know, put my back to the wall and, you know, said like we're not nuking Travis Hunter, and then eventually got a couple allies over time there. So I think at this point we're not I'm probably still high man on Travis Hunter, but I think the group is a little bit more aligned generally now. I was right. But Bashal Tootin, I think I'm a little bit higher on than the group. That's one that I'm like, I mean, part of the point of having like a group of people helping with all the inputs on the Sidekick is that I don't want you guys to just like all have like, you know, the pack reigns, like, you know, favorite, the clicks that make me the happiest. Like we're trying to make sure everything is just like the most accurate it can be. So if I'm there with like Bashal Tootin and then Bucky Irving and, you know, Quinshon Judkins are all there, and I'm like, I really think this start is fun, I probably will take Bashal Tootin. you know, because like on my team, you know, I wanted to have the guy, and especially like Best Ball Mania. Sometimes I do like a little bit more of the brand guys, and then like if I'm in a puppy, like I was in a puppy, I had a really fun start, and it was recommended Bucky Irving. I was like, I kind of want to take Tootin here, but I took the top guy. I was like, this is kind of, I'm doing these slows, and I'm trying to just in the big portfolio, I want to have, you know, the picks that are probably just the most optimal based on the way we have it and trusting the Sims. So that's what I did there. But you know, in a Best Ball Mania, sometimes I'll pull up Tootin a little bit. And, you know, when I see something like, especially like if it's Irving, Quinshon Judkins, Bashal Tootin, and then DeAndre Swift are the 4 top recommendations, I feel fairly confident that running back is the, you know, part of it is that like, this is a pretty good spot to take running back. And so for me being like, I'm a little higher than the group on Tootin, that's a spot where I might break it to Tootin. If it was like recommending, you know, Terry McLaurin in the 5th or Devontae Adams, I'm less likely to take Tootin. That's I'm kind of like, and now I'm going against 2 things. I'm going against the positional recommendation and the player recommendation. So those are probably the 2 guys that, I mean, funnily enough, Drake May is probably not a guy that I'm like truly the highest on. I think we're all high on him, but I think Sack might even be a little higher than I am on Drake May now. Wow. Yeah, I converted him.
No, he's taking the brand from you. I mean,
well, he won't take the brand. I'll definitely. I shouldn't have admitted it publicly, but yeah, I'll do some brand defending if I have to. But yeah, there's. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that really jumps out.
It was who was it you said before Tootin?
Hunter.
Travis Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any like counters that like players that you're like, I don't want it? Like the Sidekick is telling me to take, like there are several players like whenever the Sidekick tells me to take Cooper Kupp, I'm like, nope, I don't want to. I don't. I'm overweight on Cooper Kupp already because of the Sidekick, and I never want to click it. I do it enough that I'm overweight on Cooper Kupp, I think. But like there are certain players I'm just like, please, I'm not going to do this again. Are there any of those players for you where you're just like, the vibes are worse for me than for the rest of the team?
That player was Charlie Kolar for a second because Sack had convinced us that to get probably a little overly bullish on him for like a weekend. Yeah. And then we dialed that back. So now when he pops up, I'm like, okay. Jake Tonjes pops up sometimes. And I'm like, really? Like, okay. But like there is some percentage of the time where Kittle misses a lot of games. And in those seasons, Tonjes scores like a pretty decent amount of points. And so I think that one is one of, it's like, and I really do not think we're overstating him, Tonjes. But when he pops up, I'm like, oh man. So he is one I will take. I took him actually on the Top Guy Tuesday stream I did yesterday. I think he was my 20th round pick on DK. But it is one where I'm like, this doesn't feel fun because it is kind of a more beginning of the season play, but he will pop up. And a lot of times like with the guys like that, if they're popping up and I'm like, seriously, I'll go check and make sure we're not doing something I disagree with. You know, we're regularly updating everything, but there is also that element where you're like, hey, this guy seems like he's popping up more than I like. Let me see if we're missing something or, you know, we need to adjust something. And sometimes we do that. And other times we're like, I don't think we're missing anything. If anything, like maybe, you know, you could argue we're not bullish enough, you know, and that's where, yeah, but having that kind of sanity check element is part of it.
I'm going to enter us into a Best Ball Mania draft now. So if anybody wants to join us, we'll get in. I had this conversation with JSU yesterday, and he was saying like, do you think Pat just has the final say on all the rankings? Is it truly a collaborative, like everybody like equal vote? Or how does the the rankings?
We vote a lot. Okay. We vote a lot. If there needs to be like there's some times I've put my foot down. But generally I would say it's very collaborative. It's not a true democracy.
Yeah.
it's mostly a democracy. Yeah. But yeah, there's like I said, like with Hunter, there was a spot kind of during peak, he's a cornerback nervousness. There was some times where, that owning LegUp came into play.
But you still, I mean, I think I've started seeing him sometimes ahead of Omar Cooper. That was for me for the longest time. I was like, oh, I just want to take Travis Hunter every time. That's
one thing I'll do sometimes. Yeah, over Omar Cooper. Sometimes I'm like, because I take so much of them, and I have more Cooper. I'm like 29% Cooper, like 22% Hunter, and I'm like, these guys are similar enough to me that I'll mix it up and take Hunter. And I think there is some downside to the Hunter play, like some real downside to it. So I'm not trying to put my head in the sand and just put blinders on with what the play is. But being kind of the high man on Hunter of the group, when I see Omar Cooper, and usually Hunter is either second or third as well. It's not like I'm having to scroll to find Hunter. So that's one where I'm like, I want this to be a place where people feel that their opinion is heard and valued. And as part of that, I'll IKB to Hunter a little bit.
I know I'm not part of the rankings team, but I got to talk somebody on your team into liking Keaton Mitchell better. That was going to be one of my questions, and then I listened to you on one of the shows you did where you like went in depth. I think it was on ADP chasing or ship chasing yesterday.
Yeah, I kind of went hard on Mitchell yesterday
on the Mitchell stuff. So I was like, all right, he's talked about it enough that like I know Pat's stance on Keaton Mitchell. We don't really need to get into it once again. But yeah, he's one that I still like. I hear you, and I still am like, but occasionally I'm still just like, but he's so fun. Like I know that he's not going to be. I know he's not going to be Devin Achane. I do know that he's not going to be rookie year Devin Achane. But what if he's half rookie year Devin Achane? He's still a pretty good pick.
I have 3% Mitchell. It's not like I have 0. Yeah. Mitchell will sometimes pop up. I think maybe he's risen though recently because he used to like pop up occasionally. Yeah, now I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
But like we're not like there's gonna be like those meme players. Like I think one of the things with the Sidekick with a sim driven process, like meme players are gonna be hard. Like it's gonna be hard for us to be like Jaden Blue was a meme player last year who we were like pretty out on. People think we were in because
we're on the clock. Sorry. CD Lamb, Ashton Genty. Yeah.
Let's do CD. People generally think, or not generally, but I've seen some people make fun of Jaden Blue, like a sidekick for Jaden Blue. I'm like, I think you were watching Davis Maddock. he had custom ranks. We were out on Jaden Blue like big time. But those types of players that had kind of just like that steam, like we all can't, no one's going to be the one to say they're out because it's fun to say you're in.
Yeah.
The Sims help with that, I think.
True.
The Sims say they're out. We can just yell at the Sims. Saquon is who I want to hear.
Yeah.
So, but that's good, I think, right? We don't want to get wrapped up in the hype, the group think,
Yeah. No, I hear that. That's a big like feature of the Sidekick is a lot, being forced to take Cooper Kupp occasionally because I'm just so tired of trying to think about who I want to take instead. I'm forced to eat my vegetables sometimes when I use the Sidekick. But what if he is Devin Achane? I mean, no, I understand the argument against him. He's not really like a pass catcher so far in his career. I guess Davis, but so I think that like part of the reason that I struggle with it is I hear you. I think you make a great argument against it, but then I hear like JJ Zacharyson has 40% Keaton Mitchell and JSU and David, like other sharp people are very in on Keaton Mitchell. So I'm like, man, I don't want to completely miss the boat on this guy that like you can make an argument. We've all heard the wanted poster story and yeah, so I struggle with Keaton Mitchell more than most players on the board as far as like how should I rank this guy?
Yeah, there's players where like, I think if I, had like, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I there are players where if I'm like, all right, I'm going to give like guest sidekick, team pass to whoever, and they're coming in and tell us where we're wrong at Keaton Mitchell, that I don't think we would end up changing anything.
Right.
I think some of it is just there are players we want to take because they're fun, but just aren't very good picks at their price.
Yeah. And I've said this on stream before. Sometimes a psychic will recommend Woody Marks. Like that's my line of like, okay, psychic recommended Woody Marks. Now it's time to take Keaton Mitchell, which
I think that's a
really
fine line. I would as an IKB strategy, I would endorse that. I think if you're like, nah, thanks for telling me I need a running back, not that one.
Yeah.
I could get behind that. I mean, I do like if you're asking me to argue that Keaton Mitchell isn't fun, I'm not going to do that. He is fun.
Yeah. Good.
But I think you get kind of hit twice where like he probably doesn't like really help you that much most weeks. And also he doesn't have a ton of upside because he's not a clean contingent bet. Vidal would have a pretty big role if Hampton went down. So like you kind of get at running back. It's sort of like, what if at running back you got what an 18th round receiver might give you?
Yeah.
Like you got right? Like, isn't that kind of the bet?
Well, I mean, the bet is that like he's just going to be a bigger like 1A 1B than I think we're anticipating. Which I understand.
Maybe
you talked about this like
that would be
Omar and Hampton
we would be wrong. Like if you're thinking it's true 1A 1B, then your sidekick would look different than mine.
Right. No, and to be clear, I'm not suggesting that I think it's 1A 1B. I think that's sort of the bull case, like the people who are hyper in on Keaton Mitchell are picturing it more like this isn't a contingent upside bet. This is a like he's going to have a serious role, like as is. Like Omar and Hampton obviously going to be the bell cow, but like Keaton Mitchell.
We have a range of outcomes approach with the way we do this, and I would say we have that accounted for.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's like a 0.2%.
There's a sim that we call we just name it the Davis Maddox sim.
Yeah.
And that one's for
you get all Chiefs and Keaton Mitchell.
There's only one of them though. Yeah.
So JSU asked the question, who is a better running back in that range?
Who is a better running back than Keaton Mitchell at 135? Let's see.
We're about to be on the clock, so let's make our
pick
first. I mean, is it just going to be top of the sidekick, or are we going to stray at all? What are you thinking here?
I mean, I do like Garrett Wilson a lot here.
Luther Burden number 3 there, by the way. Not too far.
You could do it.
I'll do top.
I'd rather do Wilson.
Okay. Yeah. You're the guest, so we'll do.
I've enjoyed. I've been watching. Our pick basically every time I've been like happy to take the guy at the top. I mean, ETN falling to 310 is kind of fun. And Lamb and Barkley are who I wanted.
Yeah.
With both of them. I mean, I kind of take if Jefferson or Lamb is there at 110, I'm happy to take him. I do like Genty, and I was taking him over Cook when Cook was ahead of him. But is Cook still ahead of him?
Flipped. Yeah,
maybe it hasn't flipped, but I guess just because Cook, they're almost identical in ADP. Cook might still be technically ahead.
Wait, what's the easiest way to check this? Where did Cook go?
No, Genty has flipped him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So Keaton Mitchell is at 135. Yeah, I would say Keaton Mitchell probably is the best running back going around there. Maybe Woody Marks would be slightly better. Because here's the thing with Woody Marks. Woody Marks has probably some standalone value because he's a pass catcher, and is as clean a contingent bet as you're going to get. He's not good, but they don't have anybody else. They just had a trade for David Montgomery, and they just used Woody Marks last year as kind of their lead back, and depending on the week and, depending on how much they gave Chubb. But he's a guy, he's a dude they can use if they need to lean on it. Much like Kamani Vidal. It's he's Kamani Vidal, if Keaton Mitchell wasn't there, would be a pretty fun pick. Keaton Mitchell would be a better pick if they didn't have anybody else. If they didn't have Vidal, who can do all the stuff,
Right.
So I would say Woody Marks is a better pick. I'm not taking like a ton of Woody Marks right now. I used to take more. I think we used to get him pre-draft more. I'm at 10%, so I'm taking some Woody Marks, but it's not like a huge part of my portfolio.
Yeah, I feel like there was a period where Woody Marks was just like every Sidekick draft was like, you got to take Woody Marks here, and that's kind of fallen off a little bit.
It's kind of fallen off, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Pacheco is in that range. Like, I mean, there aren't
Pacheco is a rough pick, man.
Yeah,
Pacheco was washed last year.
I saw Pat Thorman made the best case for Pacheco, I think, which is that he had the same like tightrope surgery that Tony Pollard had, and like now it's been a long enough period where maybe he's going to get back to the better player he was before. Is it Bucky Irving for you here?
I like Irving a lot at this price.
Yeah,
this price is in a lot of the downside.
So I thought that was in like, as somebody who had not taken a single share of Isaiah Pacheco, I think I've taken like 2 since I saw Pat Thorman's case for him, which was like, that is kind of, it's a good point that like he's long enough removed from the injury that maybe he's going to, show a little bit more juice than he showed last year.
Maybe, but they're talking about like Gibbs is our bell cow. And you know why they're saying that? Because Gibbs is like the best running back in football.
Yeah. It'd be like totally a contingent bet, right? But like
totally contingent, and he is what he was last. Like he wasn't useless last year as like a starter. So like I don't know. I guess that's possible, but I don't know. It's like you need a guy to get hurt, or he's nothing. And then once the guy gets hurt, it's not like and I'm set. It's like, oh God, now I hope he's not washed.
right. Yeah.
Why do I need to win like 2 low probability bets?
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I like Daniels here. The other, I mean, we don't have a wide receiver, and Hurts goes so much later. I think Daniels is the way to play it.
Okay. You're thinking Mekhi Lemon?
No, I'm just saying like we have, sometimes with Daniels, and then you have the Hurts out. Yeah, you could go. Yeah. You maybe could go. But yeah, I was thinking between those two, but not to take Hurts, but maybe take Lemon. But yeah, you don't have. I mean, Lemon's it's a kind of a reach for Lemon.
Yeah,
I think he's fine at this price, but Daniels is probably just the better pick.
Do the Lions have any other running backs on the depth chart that we need to like? I guess that was the one thing I was thinking about for Pacheco is like feels like a fairly clean contingent bet. If Gibbs did go down, then he's like on this great offense, and maybe he's healthier, maybe he bounces back. But yeah, he goes clearly earlier than he should go for being like a pure contingency bet, not like probably close to 0 standalone value, but.
Like if he has standalone value, the offense gets worse.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's actually like he ruins the appeal of the Lions. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he is clean from a contingent bet standpoint in the sense that there's no one else, because the next guy up would be Sion Vaki or Jacob Sailors. But I think we might learn about Jacob Sailors if Gibbs goes down. I think he might become an Emmanuel Wilson in our minds or something. You know what I mean? Like we'd probably be like, I don't know anything about him now, but if I bet I would know something if Gibbs went down.
Former UFL star Jacob Sailors.
There we go. We're learning already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's dudes we learn names on, and I think post like Gibbs missing 10 games this season, we learn a name. Not that Pacheco wouldn't have run. He would be the first guy up, but I just don't think he would be like some smash. And again, I already had to like have a low probability outcome play out where like I want it to be clean. Like Brian Robinson, sure. Tyler Algier, sure. Like those dudes have at least some juice. I mean, Algier's probably got enough juice to be a starter, which is what he thought was going to happen when he signed that deal. And then he got, I mean, what a nightmare this guy's in.
Yeah. Feel bad for Tyler Algier. Back to Keaton Mitchell, just and I think you took him as like your 18th round pick. But are you drafting any Kimani Vidal in like regular best ball, just as a, you're not a big believer in Keaton Mitchell if you want to bet on the, backup running back on that offense?
I'm not. And that I think would probably point to like that I mean, like Vidal, I may have taken one DraftKings in the 20th round. So I'm not saying I'm literally never drafting him, but he's not like, it's not like, oh, you got to play it through. Reed here is really fun.
Okay, I was going to. This is fascinating because Quentin Johnston is number 2 on the list as one of the players that we have less than 2%.
There you go.
I do really like Jaden Reed, but yeah,
but this is like one of those things where you get close to taking Johnston, but Reed pops as a better pick, and then you take Reed, and then the receiver becomes less of a priority.
Yeah,
and then Johnston falls down the list. You're like, I was so
You're
close.
Just never getting him.
Yeah. So I think with Johnston though, like you see, like he's at least there are, I highlighted him as a player like I could see us moving on, and it's not like we have zero interest in it. Like he's close. Yeah, Dowdle here. I also think Quorum is pretty similar to Dowdle. So both these guys are good picks.
I'm fine just going
right,
Rico Dowdle. Yeah, I like them both. Did you move up Quorum much? Quorum and Kerrane after like the trades, the big trades?
Not a ton. Yeah. No. I think this is going to be an offense that scores a lot of points, and is going to be pretty balanced either way. So yeah, but I was a friend of mine was like noting the Stafford stuff. Based on, post trade, like, are we? So I might look at Stafford because Stafford's generally like he is coming off this really hot season, and they may have a bigger lead, a lot of games than they did last year. So I was kind of actually thinking about Stafford. I'm gonna check him later. Not that we take a ton of Stafford, but
yeah, I feel like Stafford. So another player that I thought about asking you about.
I'm at 7% on him.
Okay.
Yeah, Jordan Love. Yeah, he doesn't. I don't see much love. That's actually one I'll look at because he's like a player that I like. Like, I would like to take Jordan Love. I think it's about other players just being better picks. Like we've got the LegUp rankings, the same inputs that drive the Sims drive the rankings, but the Sims are a much more rigorous process. So, but in the rankings, like basically, like I would expect us to like Jordan Love, and we don't really like Jordan Love, but I think it's because we really like Kyler Murray, we like Bo Nix, we really like Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy goes at 96 and he sometimes falls. So it's like, when are you in the situation where you like have a Packer and the other quarterbacks aren't there, and Jordan Love doesn't get sniped? Like it's I think like the universes in which Jordan Love becomes the top suggestion are just a little thin because we like a lot of the other quarterbacks that go right around him more.
Yeah.
And all these quarterbacks are really compressed this year. So there's not like, Jordan Love. I mean, looking at FFPC, I think Jordan Love was like in the 140s or something.
I did not watch that show yet, comparing the ADPs. Yeah, I guess so. To me, like, do you consider at all that like if Josh Jacobs were to miss time, like would we see like the Packers go a little bit more pass heavy potentially? So like to me, that's kind of where I'm like, that's like, I feel like there's scenarios where they become more pass heavy, or just like an injury to Josh Jacobs. Harold Fannin is the top of the click.
Yeah, I like Harold Fannin quite a bit here.
Yeah, just like Jordan Love, like we know he can throw the ball down the field. It's becoming a little bit more condensed of a wide receiver rotation. So like oftentimes in his ADP range, like all of his receivers are off the board, right? Except for Matthew Golden goes like right after him. So I don't know. To me, Jordan Love is like he's a fun click for me, and one that's like pretty easy to like do a double stack of like Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed, or Tucker Kraft and Christian Watson, and then just have Jordan Love come back. So I do sometimes IKB off of Kyler Murray, Vikings quarterback, as a Vikings fan, but only because I have so much Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I'll double check on Love to make sure we're not like missing anything, because I think we, like I said, I kind of feel like we like him. Like I don't think we're like out on Jordan Love by any means, but it's basically, and here he's third.
He is third.
So it's more like, let's get that. And I do prefer Jonathan Brooks. I'd rather just grab Brooks.
This is one where I know you and I are
Daniels.
very aligned on Jonathan Brooks.
So it's like, hey, all these other quarterbacks that are better picks are gone, and Jordan Love is still here, and you have a stack. Great. But you probably just take a running back because you kind of need a running back 5, and then you're going to be done, and the running back position is going to dry up. So maybe that's the better pick, actually. So I think that's kind of really what it is. But I hear you on Love. He's a guy I like. Like intuitively, I'm like, yeah, Love's a good pick. Love's definitely not a bad pick. Like that's how I feel.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not seeing a ton of Love pop up either. And I don't think, just pulling it up here, I think it really is that there are kind of this compression element at the quarterback position. Like if he was going, if it was a little more spread out, which it has been historically, this is like the first year we've seen this kind of like, I think, didn't Hayden just write this up about like the quarterback 18s going as high as it's ever gone,
I believe it, yeah.
And he's it's like kind of like a little bit of an inefficiency in the market that these guys have been falling too far. And I think that's the Sims kind of are generally on board with that idea that we want to be, getting these productive, fairly stable quarterback bets, on a decent number of teams, being overweight 3 quarterback relative to 2. It's not like a must, but being overweight it, which pulls up quarterback as well if more people are doing 3. So I think that it's that element on Love, and that element is like largely sharp, but it also just makes Love a little hard to take because he's gotten more expensive, for whatever quarterback number he was off the board here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly which number it is here, but yeah, several quarterbacks off the board. Follow-up question: do you have a sim where JJ McCarthy beats out Kyler Murray to be the Vikings quarterback?
Yeah,
you do have that.
Kyler Murray. We believe Kyler Murray has some bench risk.
Okay. Yeah, that's also pretty scary. As like you said, Kyler Murray is a big sidekick bet this season. Like he's a player that is frequently at the top of my queue. So he's one that I will, as someone who is well overweight on Kyler Murray, I'll sometimes IKB off to like, I've got this stack, the quarterback is close enough that I'll make that bet instead.
Yeah, I feel you there. I mean, Murray is one of the quarterbacks, because I think about this a little bit. Like there are quarterbacks who can just be just play like absolute ass and score no points. They'll still score some points because they're quarterbacks. But Jacory here is great, yeah. like really, really great. As out as we are on Allen at price, I've been very happy to take Jacory at like 130. Like that seems awesome to me.
Yeah, Jacory just like really ties a wide receiver room together. When you don't go a bunch of receivers early, it's just like, this is pretty safe bet, I think.
Yep. I just hit a little button there. Got Travis Hunter to flip CJ Stroud.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. There goes Keaton Mitchell.
JSU. I knew JSU would get Keaton Mitchell. All right.
Yeah, Hunter here is fantastic. Fantastic. I'm enjoying this team. This is a fun team.
Very strong. 1-5-5-1 is the structure so far. For the audio listeners, we have Jaden Daniels at quarterback. At running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne, Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, Jonathan Brooks. At wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, Travis Hunter, and at tight end, we have Harold Fannin. Pretty very balanced, strong across the board.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. What was I saying? I forget now what you're saying too.
What were we talking about? Khalil Shakir, Travis Hunter. What were we talking about? I lost my train of thought.
We'll never know.
We will never know. Khalil Shakir being a good pick. I think we were talking about Khalil Shakir still.
Yeah, he's solid. Yeah, he's just underpriced. Yeah. I will not capitulate to the Keaton hate. JSU says.
Yeah,
I feel for you. You know, you're watching a pod with me, and then you're going to be podding with Zach. You know, there's not. But I get at one point where I was just mentioned on Vidal. Like I'm not playing that through Vidal. I'm playing it through like this doesn't have like a clean contingent type of play, and the guy who's going to be like sporadically productive isn't cheap. So that's I think we'd feel differently. Like I'm sure we'd feel differently if Keaton Mitchell was in the final rounds. We'd probably like him like a good amount.
Yeah, I would imagine that. But you guys, you know about the wanted posters, right?
Yes, Mike McDaniel had wanted posters for Mitchell and a couple other players.
I actually don't know who those other players are. I only know.
Yeah, it's funny that no one even gives a shit who those players were.
No, they're not as fun as Keaton Mitchell. We don't need to know. Was that Charlie Kolar? Did Zach give the bump to Charlie Kolar for the wanted posters?
I don't think he was a wanted poster guy. I think he's actually more of like the hardball, team hardball.
Yeah, that's probably.
I don't think he was a Mike McDaniel guy. I'm genuinely sweating this one out.
I am too. Because I don't get a ton.
Yeah.
And I know you're not going to let me draft Antonio Williams. The sidekick is going to be no, we're not taking Antonio Williams.
Antonio who? What about Brandon Ayuk, dude?
There we go.
Chigakonkwo. Plus, we beat the unstacked allegations, which are
huge.
You know, often accurate. So that's nice. That's very nice
really
for
fun.
us.
Yeah. So we are at the point where the sidekick is recommending air. We only have one quarterback. This is pretty late. We did push quarterback.
This is late.
Yeah.
This is late. Yeah, we don't. This is kind of like an old school quarterback build where you got the quarterback in the 6th, and then you push your quarterback 2 really late, which is kind of fun because, you know, there were quarterbacks in the mix, and they just didn't end up being the best pick at that given time. Where, you know, Travis Hunter. If I hadn't clicked the button, maybe we would have gotten a quarterback over him. Yeah. But he flips those guys, and we end up with Rodgers the quarterback too. But Rodgers, we have Dowdle, and then potential backstack options with him.
Yep.
So, yeah, seems good. Jaden Daniels obviously going to be carrying us at quarterback, but solid quarterback too.
That's fine. Yeah. Who do you have ranked higher at this point? I guess I haven't looked at the rankings between Freiermuth and Darnell Washington.
Freiermuth, but we do take Darnell Washington a decent amount. Freiermuth, he has a higher ADP, but we like Freiermuth. We're generally in on him. It's just that Darnell Washington, I think, also has a role. And I think they both also, have some upside in an offense that probably should pass more. And they'll play a decent amount of 12, I think. But then they're also, both guys have potential to like break out as the tight end 1 there, which gives Freiermuth some downside. But I think we're reflecting that, and he does, look like a pretty good pick even with that as a possibility. So yeah, I think he's a little undervalued, and then Washington is also a little undervalued. I think Washington was one we were drafting a bunch of. Washington is a guy I was kind of the high man on, and then the team was like, Pat, what's going on? You seem really into this Darnell Washington character. Are you okay?
And then they paid a whole load of money, and you were
we lowered Darnell Washington there for a minute but I think that was a good process. Let's let the Steelers indicate that they feel the same way that I felt that they should.
Yeah,
because Darnell Washington was good last year. That's where that's where my bullishness was coming from. And yeah, of course I did front run it again, but of course I think it was better process for the team to.
I'm sweating this one again, by the way.
Nice. Okay, let's go. Dude, Jeremy Bernard.
Totally correlated. Who's saying we're not correlated?
Yeah. That's a great pick for this team.
Yeah. We're at a 2-5-6-2. Our quarterbacks are Jaden Daniels and Aaron Rodgers. Running back Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne, Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, Jonathan Brooks. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, Travis Hunter, Jeremy Bernard, Harold Fannin, and Chig Okonkwo. I'm loving it. This is a great team.
This is a great team.
Okay, Cade Otton was going to be the suggestion, and he was one that for me I frequently do IKB off of. Fernando Mendoza is now the suggestion. Are you?
Let's do it.
Good with that?
Yeah, let's do it. We have correlation. We're getting a little bit of late season QB2 upside on an Aaron Rodgers team. Like, I know it's not stacked and that makes it less fun, but from a roster building perspective, like this makes sense, right? Like,
ever heard of Michael Mayer? We could always stack it.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Let's not do it.
Are you? I mean, I feel like I've gotten the Sidekick suggestion on Michael.
He's in
Mayer.
there.
Like he's in there.
Yeah, you'll see him. You'll see him. He's like more 20th round DraftKings type stuff.
More of a DraftKings pick. Yeah.
I bet if we had like Tucker, if we had like Genty and Tucker, you might see Mayer. You know, you get a little Raiders boost. You know, there's no actual boost. It's the Sims or
Yeah.
But the Sims do like correlation. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The way the seasons play out are going to be correlated.
Right. Like we have these ideas we talk about is if you do the math, they do there's some backing to it.
Young C Jeezy says Jack Besh. I have been getting some Jack Besh suggestions.
He pops up a little bit. He's probably the wide receiver too there.
Yeah.
As crazy as I guess Naylor.
No, yeah,
but
Naylor.
I mean the outside, yeah. Although maybe Naylor plays outside, I don't know.
And then when Deebo signs, they're all just dead anyway.
Right. Man, could you imagine?
That was
pretty good for the bags.
David suggested that would be the best thing for his bags, and I was like, yeah, I think that'd be the best thing for my bags too. Like, don't have a ton of Raiders receivers. Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah,
have a ton.
We did have a lot of Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker was a funny one. There's guys like in the process of doing this, one of the things that makes me like more confident in it is that like there are players that I'm like, really? I had to take this guy. And then like, like Jacob was like, Pat, what's going on with Trey Tucker? What you guys like Trey Tucker? Why? I'm like, well, and I have to like make this like very like, I feel like I'm talking about like why we should balance the budget.
Right.
It's important to be financially,
Yeah.
And it's like, so we, I did that case. It was like the least fun thing I've ever done in my life. And then he like moved up 35 picks.
Yeah.
So like there are guys that are just like kind of good best ball picks that should go a little higher than they're currently going, and we can take them. And they're not going to make us feel like immense joy, but they're just good picks.
He dropped as Lestoke is giving us the quote. He dropped a 40 burger last year. Yeah, he did. He had a huge game last year.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was going. I'm pretty sure he was going like the 180s, right? Like I'm not crazy. So he's up in the 150s now.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He was a good pick in the 180s.
I don't know if he says I also hear winning money is fun. Man, I'd love to try that sometime. I don't remember what we said was fun that he's pushing back on.
Well, just not Trey Tucker. Not very fun. Malik Washington, I am taking some of. We don't have to take Cooper Kupp, which I know you're happy about.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Who else is floating around here? Yeah, Chris Brazzell. We take some. See, Kolar's still in there. I had to pull the leg up card, but Kolar he's not at the top. You're welcome.
I think we did do the top of the Sidekick on all these picks, right? Pretty sure.
I think we did. Yeah.
And it's a nice team. 3-5-7-3 is the final build. I'll read off. The team is Jaden Daniels, Aaron Rodgers, and Fernando Mendoza at quarterback. At running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne, Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, and Jonathan Brooks. Wide receivers, we have CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, Travis Hunter, Jeremy Bernard, Malik Washington, and a tight end, Harold Fannin, Chig Okonkwo, and Darnell Washington. I like this team quite a bit.
We have the single stack to Okonkwo. We've got a double stack with Rodgers in terms of the pass catchers, plus a bet on Dowdle.
Yep.
Is that offense is actually a fun one. So, it's a little bit of a team stack on the Steelers, but it's cheap. It's all kind of backdoor stuff, basically. Yeah, it's a good team. I think, I don't know what you'd call it structurally. It's, it's a 5 running back build. We took CD round 1, grab a running back round 2. When was our running back 2? Was that round 3?
Yep. Travis.
Yeah, ETN. Yeah, and then Bucky, and then Brooks and Dowdle, which I said it in the order I prefer them, not the order we took.
Right. That was I did that exercise with Deebo last week, asking him to rank that group of like running back 2s where it's Rico Dowdle, Blake Corum, Kyle Monungai, J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jonathan Brooks. And he had Gainwell and Brooks at the top of that list also, which was like, that was fun to hear. I
nice.
feel like you don't get a ton of Gainwell with the Sidekick. Is that accurate? Like, are you?
Yeah, no, that is accurate. We got like Gainwell. And one thing I would say about like drafting right now is that we're not seeing a lot of like, there's no news. So like player ADPs aren't really like changing drastically. And I think it is leading to like, oh yeah, when you draft the Sidekick, you don't get this player, you do get that player, you don't get, but like this will change. And Gainwell is one of those guys where like, I got into a debate with Jacob Sanderson on chip chasing, or it's probably on ADP chasing that we actually debated it, that he called Kenneth Gainwell the worst pick on the board, and has since changed his tune a little bit. He now has him ranked higher than I do. And but I think we're both behind ADP now. He's moved up quite a bit, Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah.
Like we used to I was making a pro Kenny Gainwell case like a month ago. Not that I think even then I was underweight, but I was at like 6% or something. I was like taking him. Now I'm like really not taking him at all, but he's moved up a lot on this like 1A, 1B type of talk. But he has a similar type of profile, I think, to Mitchell, where it's not super clean if Bucky Irving goes down, because Sean Tucker would get involved. And so there's just a limit to where I want, like what I want to pay for Gainwell. Like, can he become the starter without an injury? Probably not. Like maybe, but like probably not. Would he be an absolute smash if Irving misses time? No. Could he become like a productive committee back without an injury? Yes. That might even be the most likely outcome. But like how productive, see, like, are you excited to start him in redraft, or is you more just hoping he like catches 5 balls and kind of turns in a decent week? So, and I think it's more the latter. So it's like, he definitely is interesting, and he wouldn't, he does have some contingent value, but it's not like super, super clean. And he catches a ball, and he's a pretty good player. And, he's somewhat electric, he can make plays. So there's definitely some appeal, but when a player like that moves up, he's basically like competing against a different class of player against him to outperform that, those players in the Sims. And Gainwell's just having a much harder time of doing that. To me, like a lot of this stuff with the Sidekick is like, we're basically doing like a really rigorous version of like tier-based drafting, where it's like, you're telling me Kenny Gainwell's in this running back tier, but he kind of is in a different tier.
Right. Like
he's actually in a lower, he moved up. He was a good pick when he was in the right tier, and now he's in a new tier that he doesn't belong in, and now he's a much tougher click. And so, that kind of thing, and that's where you look at like the whole Allen discussion and some of the receivers that we've talked about. It's like, hey, there was a huge tier break at receiver, and you're telling me you need a receiver 3, so you should take a receiver. But what if you took a quarterback, and then we'll go get receiver later from the same tier, and right, you're not going to lose any ground, but you might lose ground to the teams that are already strong at receiver if you just kind of capitulate and take a receiver from like what we all agree, I think, is like, a lower quality tier.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like it's tough with Gainwell. It's actually kind of similar to Keaton Mitchell, and you had this conversation. I don't know the difference anymore between ADP ship chasing and ship chasing because I watched both of them and
yeah,
don't actually think about the difference. But on one of those, Davis was saying like nobody does talent, like we're not drafting based on talent anymore. And he to me he feels like Kenneth Gainwell is like he was so good last year that like part of it's like, well, we just saw how good he can be when they do give him a bigger of a role. So it's like you kind of want to make the talent bet on Kenneth Gainwell because he just like when he got the opportunity, he looked pretty talented with Pittsburgh, and now it's like, well, he moved to an environment where maybe he'll like they signed him, they should give him opportunities, but like you say, it is tough because clearly Sean Tucker is going to be involved, and Bucky Irving is probably better than Kenneth Gainwell. So yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it
and
is
it's like,
similar to Keaton Mitchell in that it's like not that clean.
Yeah, and like he didn't pass Jaylin Warren last year. You know, they were
Right.
in a committee together.
Yeah.
You know, there were times where you're like, you know what, I'd rather just have Gainwell. But there were times where Warren was the more productive guy. So is like Bucky Irving better than Jaylin Warren or not? Like he probably is. And I like Jaylin Warren, but yeah, I mean, from the talent-based perspective, I get it. Like Gainwell is a good player. There are backfields that if he'd gone there, I'd be pretty excited about. I mean, if Jonathan Brooks got traded for Kenny Gainwell, I'd take a lot of Kenny Gainwell. Like I think he's better than Chuba Hubbard. But yeah, I mean, it's a little. There's the talent-based bet if the contingency plays out with Irving. Except I think Sean Tucker's really good too. So that's another thing with Gainwell. Like Tucker can play, and Tucker can do stuff that Gainwell doesn't do. Namely, he's a big back who can be good at the goal line. He's also explosive too. Like he has that in common, and he's not a zero in the passing game. So Tucker being there, I think hurts Gainwell as well, dude. Yeah. But I mean, could you imagine if Gainwell had gone to Washington?
Yeah,
like I would be drafting a lot of Gainwell. Yeah. So I agree with you that he's a talented player, but the talent of his teammates factors in as well.
Yeah. I only ask you for 90 minutes, and we are past that already. Can I just ask one more quick question, just because you brought up Washington? Just your thoughts on the latest with Jacory Croskey-Merritt, since you brought up the Washington backfield, and that's one that I have a ton of Rachaad White, and I sort of interpret it as bullish, though. Like Jacory Croskey-Merritt, I know you do the show with Coach Speak Index. Maybe you guys talked about this. I don't remember. But like the Jacory Croskey-Merritt, they want him to be involved as a pass catcher. What do you make of that? I actually don't know if that was Coach Speak or if it was just a beat reporter saying that's what they want. But did you make anything like? Have you considered moving Jacory Croskey-Merritt up the ranks, or do you just think Rachaad White is going to be kind of a thorn in his side regardless?
Yeah. So the quote that I saw was that they were saying. Dan Quinn had said that he still needs to improve in pass protection and in the passing game before he can be considered the Commander's starting running back, which to me is bearish because they have Rachaad White, who like that is what he does. And then they also have Jeremy McNichols, who, you know, might be a healthy scratch, but I think probably makes the team and would be the next man up as like a receiving back if Rachaad White's making so little. It's like, you know, there's an 85% chance he makes the Commanders, you know?
Oh, no.
No, I'm kidding.
Poor Jacob in that case.
I think it's higher than that. But there is like, it's, you know, it was the point where they were talking about him like in the return game. And Shope was like, oh, that's bearish. We're like, no, it's bullish, man. Like the contract does not protect him. We want all the outs we can get of him just being active. But yeah, I think I agree. Jacob's framing, and I agree with this, is that like, you know, they don't want to tip plays when JCM's on the field. And so most of it is that like he needs to improve in pass protection and, you know, his receiving skills so that on second down, it's not clear they're going to run the ball or whatever. And if he's out there, rather than like he'll become their long down to distance back. Like they have multiple guys, including like Jerome Ford. You know, there's literally 3 guys currently on the roster. Not all of them will probably make it, but right now they have several other options of who they would have for that kind of role. But yeah, I think it's like, I would rather hear something like the growth that JCM has shown from year 1 to year 2 has been tremendous. We're really excited to see what he can do for us this year. And yeah, as of right now, I would consider him our starter.
We're going to run the ball down their throat.
Yeah.
This guy's a bell cow. Yeah.
I'm thinking
there could be more bullish quotes. Yeah.
I'm thinking 25 touches for JCM and maybe another 15 for Rachaad. And, you know, we'll obviously get Kaytron 10 or so. You know, that would be nice. That would be nice. You know, like that's kind of more typical of a guy that, you know, they're actually really excited about. I think JCM has some upside for sure. But I think he has a pretty low floor with the potential for Allen to mix in. I mean, they talked about their backfield and they're like, Rachaad White's been doing some stuff, you know, we like him, but you know, then we're kind of excited to see how it shakes out with Kaytron and Robert Henry Jr. and Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Like, Robert Henry Jr. is second in that list. Like that seems not great. So I don't know. I mean, JCM is one of those guys where what we like have today is not what we're going to have in August. I know that. I don't know what we will have in August though.
Yeah. It'll be,
it'll
be a lot better, or a lot worse.
It'll be a lot better, a lot worse. So yeah, but I think because them drafting Allen, and then Allen is like very Kyle Monangai-esque in that, like, he's not going to be a star. He's probably not a guy who a team really ought to spend more than a 6th round pick on, because he's kind of limited. You know, he's like a power back without a ton of juice. But like if he has like a Ben Jarvis Green LSC career, wouldn't surprise me. You know, he could like have like a reasonably long career. He's like a true starter one year. You know, he's like in a committee for a while. He like does a Jamal Williams year where he scores 12 touchdowns randomly. Then we have to pay 7th round prices for him, and he like scores a total of 7 fantasy points or whatever. You know, like that. I think that's where we're headed in a decent number of universes. So yeah, like that could impact JCM, a 7th round pick who showed some stuff last year, but didn't ultimately like run away with an opportunity. So
right,
it's that one is one, like, it is just not clean, but it is ambiguous in a way that I want to be like probably overweight on one of these guys in any given window. Right now it's White. But it could be Allen later. It could be JCM later. Just kind of depends on how it shakes out.
Could be that last guy that you named that nobody's ever heard of before.
Could be Robert Henry Jr. I mean, it's straight up. It could be like, it honestly could be Robert. There could be a window where like, and that window I think would be like the first week of September, where we're like,
right,
it's Robert Henry Jr. Let's just take him. But yeah, it's the ambiguity. I think here is a good thing. There's opportunity. I am taking White. I'm overweight White. I'm not 42%, which is where Jacob is, but I am overweight, and I probably will continue to be overweight for now. But that is one that could easily change. And I expect it. That one's fun. Like I want to get more information on the Washington backfield.
Yeah.
Because I think landing on the right answer and then being right. Like we're all kind of scrambling, but it's like kind of musical chairs. But like once the music stops, I want to be in the right chair, and I think that player will be impactful.
Yeah, excited about the Washington backfield. All right, we are going to get out of here. By the way, if everybody could like the video, subscribe wherever you are, leave a comment, all of that, rate, review, all of that is very helpful, would be very much appreciated. Pat, before we get out of here, do you have anything that you want to tell people about coming up?
Well, not sure if you guys have ever heard about a tool called the Sidekick, but you can check that out at legendaryupside.com/sidekick. Very helpful for, if you're doing a bunch of volume, slow drafts. And then we didn't talk about this, but we support all the Eliminator, weekly winners, super flex, like all those types of different contests, even like high stakes structures in terms of, advancement structures, 4 of 12. Like we straight up get different recommendations in some minor ways, but ways like that I notice, in the Palm, where it's 4 of 12 to advance compared to, and the Mastiff is also 4 of 12 if you're doing any of those. So those types of things actually do change up a little bit how you want to play it. And because it's sim-based, it can handle all of that without, we're just like, as many weird formats as you can throw at us, we're happy to tackle with it. So if you're doing any like kind of like a broad variety of tournaments, it's extremely helpful for that. But yeah, all the rankings, Underdog, DraftKings, all my writing, all over Legendary Upside. And I'll be on the LegUp YouTube channel tomorrow with Sam Sherman for a show we do weekly called That's Fair. We'll dive into some guys. We'll probably talk about Kaytron and a few of these guys we've talked about today, because we're going to look at guys where there's not a drum beat yet, but we've got our ear to the ground. We're listening to hear if we can hear that drum beat starting. So we're gonna share some candidates for kind of who will be the drum beat players from later in the summer.
Nice. Yeah, go check out the Legendary Upside YouTube channel at the very least, because you guys have been cranking out content this year. It's obviously great content. Highly recommend it. Go AZ asked, does Sidekick have a monthly option?
It does. Yeah, we have monthly and yearly. And I'll note the yearly supports playoff best ball and pre-draft best ball and this period. So the yearly is ultimately the better deal because you get about 10 months of drafting with it, and it's $500 for the year. So it works out to 50 a month if you do everything. But yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, thanks, Pat, for coming on. Thank you, everybody else, for hanging out with us. Again, if you would like, review, all that stuff, we would appreciate it. I'll be back next week with Rich Rebar. See you then.